Hello and welcome. I'm Dwayne Lessner, and we're going to take a look at IP failover with AFS. So what happens if your node goes down or someone shuts off one of your AFS VMs? So we're already logged into our cluster. We're running ESXi cluster running AFS. We've already set it up. We have the vCenter registration. We have 8 hosts. There's lots of other VMs running on it. 2 different block types. So it's a diverse cluster, we'll call it. If we go to the virtual machines that are making up the file server, it is the PIT file server. So if we look at PIT, do a quick search, it brings up all the VMs rather quickly. So let's take a look at this last guy, PIT7. We see that it has 2 addresses, 207 and 236. One of those IP addresses is used for client connections. So in the event of a failure, this 236 will actually move to one of these other remaining 6 virtual machines. The cluster is set up for 14,000 users. We have about 8,000 users on the cluster and lots of files. So if we go look at the file server, we see that about 1 terabyte of data running on it, and looks like it's really the home share is the main one. So what we're going to do is shut down AFS or shut down that number 7. So we'll take a look at, we'll find a directory that is using that. So if we go into, we're just on a virtual desktop with a user. If we go to PIT, here's our home share. And here's where we have all of our user directories that are spread out evenly amongst those 7 VMs. So we need to find one that's being housed on node 7. I already know what this one is being housed there. So if I take a look, if I look at the DFS, I see that it's got a referral to PIT7. So that's where the data is actually sitting. And so if we click on that, we'll start a copy job in the background while we shut it down. And so what's happening, instead of like moving the actual files or detaching volume groups, because the AFS uses volume groups for the backend storage. If we look at storage and take a look at the volume groups, we see that we'll have a lot of PIT volume groups that are being used to store that data. So what's going to happen here, we'll go into vSphere. Here's our 7 AFS VMs that are making up our file services. So this one could actually house up to 14,000 users. We have, just because of the RAM configuration and CPU. So if we look, we can actually see it's 2 IP addresses in here as well, 236. So we'll start a copy job on this guy. It's about 11 gigs of data. So we'll copy that into this user share that's running off of that file server VM. Away we go. So we're shutting that down. Shut down the guest. So now that client address, that 236, is actually going to be moved to one of the other nodes. We do have, or I thought we had a ping set up. There we go. So it did go down, and then we'll be able to see that it'll come back. It takes about 30 seconds for that IP to transfer. And when it does come up, we can actually take a look at what node it actually comes back on. You will see a 1 with 3. That's because there is an additional IP address for the on the storage side, the file services cluster IP. So this is what this 231 is. So, and look, it's already brought it back, so we know that it's good to go. We can go back into our user and remain and start copying again. So it is really that quick. And so if we look at one of the VMs, we should see one with 4 addresses. It's a little bit quicker to actually go through Prism. All right, I guess we will go use Prism. It's taking a bit to get updated on the vSphere side. So quickly scan through these and look at that. We got 236 being attached to number 2. So we can bring that file server back up and they will switch IPs again. There is a bit of time taken, so we're not going to kind of trombone around. So turn it back on. And that copy job should be finished. Oh, looks like we had the same thing again. Yes. That's what I wanted to cover. Thank you very much for taking the time to see how IP failover works with AFS. Thanks.